What's going on, everybody? The original Mako back with some more Gunfire Reborn content, and today we have the next hero tier list, Ascensions tier list. And I was gonna go in order first from like cat, dog, bird, tiger, but that was when I thought I was doing it all in one video. If I was doing them separate videos, then I would have started with the tiger first. So we're gonna go cat, tiger, dog, bird, because you know what, let's just go back and forth between the order they were added. I feel like I should have done the tiger first anyway, but that being the case, we're doing the tiger today. If you enjoy the video, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, let me know what other type of videos you guys want to see, and then check out the links in the description, twitch.tv/theoriginalmako. I stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, and then occasionally on Sundays, and second YouTube channel as well. I'm going to be posting a lot more there coming up soon, so check that out as well. But in the meantime, let's just go ahead and hop into the video. We're going to, no webcam again. And these are all of the Tiger's Ascensions. And we'll just start from the left and kind of go across. So, first things first, we have Heart of Battle, which just lowers the cooldown of your E ability every time. Or no, just lowers the cooldown of your E ability. And on tier 3, it refills 50% of your secondary skills every time you crit. So this is going to go at why? Wait, hold on. Hold up a second. What is going on here? Okay, and now this needs to be there, and this needs to be there. Okay, I don't know why D and C were flipped. Either way, fixed. This is going to go in C, right in the middle. Having more of a cooldown for your E ability is really good because the E ability is kind of like what makes this hero elite. So it's nice to have it, but it's nothing too crazy, and there's a lot of other ways to get your E back faster or to keep doing damage while you don't have E and whatnot. So, and the E cooldown being reduced by half a second, even 1 second at tier 2 is nothing massive. So it's going to go C. It's not like this is run changing, but it's not terrible to get either, honestly. The next one is Lightning Governor. During the time your E is active, you inflict chain lightning with -2 bounces on a random enemy within 20 meters around you, and it's 1 per second at the base tier. This is going to go B. This is going to go A. Lightning Governor is really good. It's just passive damage that you don't even have to worry about while your E is active. There's a lot of ways you can keep your E, or there's a good way to keep your E active for a long time. And then if you have your E active for a long time, you're just constantly using Lightning Governor, constantly getting more damage. And especially if you keep upgrading it, you get more bounces with your Chain Lightning, and it happens more often. Tier 3 is 0.7 times per second, which is really, really good. And if it kills an enemy, the duration of Fatal Current is increased by a second. So if you don't have a good way, if you don't have Magical Supply, essentially, if you can get Lightning Governor to tier 3, you still have a chance to keep your E going for longer, assuming you're not really shooting that often. But Lightning Governor is really good, just passive extra damage, and helps inflict lightning elemental effect onto enemies around you without you even having to really do anything about it. So, yeah, pretty good. Definitely not too shabby. And something you might want to consider picking up. The next one is Electric Circuit. Chain Lightning would connect all affected targets together and complete a circuit. Next time you hit the connected target, you do 40% of the damage transmitted to all of the targets. So, this one's going to go D. It's just kind of harder to keep track of when you're in the middle of a run. Like, oh, which enemies did I hit with that last Chain Lightning? Which one do I need to hit to complete, or to hit the one that starts the circuit? It does some AoE damage, obviously, which is not bad. But your Chain Lightning already does some AoE damage by bouncing to different enemies. So yeah, completing the circuit and then hitting an enemy and doing damage to the other enemies that the lightning bolt bounced to is kind of nice, but not something I ever really would consider being the best Ascension in a chest. I've never run into a time where I'm like, okay, this is the best Ascension. I'm definitely going to take this one over the other ones. It's just not very good, in my opinion. I don't think it's anything crazy. A little bit of extra AoE damage, but it's not really that much worth it compared to the other things you could get. Next up, we have Lightning from Void. Chance to trigger Chain Lightning by dealing a critical hit. The most you can do is 1 per second. And the probability of it to trigger is related to the crit X number you have. The higher the crit X number, the higher chance to trigger, but you can go once per second at most. Lightning from Void is going to go A. A very good Ascension. Every weapon, I mean, it doesn't matter what weapon you're using, whether it's a sniper, whether it's any weapon that can crit can cause Lightning from Void. Once again, it's just another chance to get that lightning elemental effect onto enemies without you really having to be super worried about it. You don't have to have a lightning weapon. Your Q doesn't even have to do lightning damage. And not to mention, if you have like a scalpel or probably scalpel's the best example. If you have a scalpel and you're doing critical damage, you're going to be probably triggering it once per second, and that's a lot of extra DPS if you're constantly 1 time a second hitting a chain lightning onto a target, as well as hitting them with the bullets. So chain lightning or Lightning from Void, really, really good. Definitely one you're going to want to pick up and experiment with. If you can find a scalpel that has auto crit on it, please, I said this before, please experiment with it in a run because it's super, super fun. And you will 100% trigger Lightning from Void once a second, and it's just a lot of fun to watch and see. So Lightning from Void, A tier for sure. Next up, we have Hypercurrent, plus 100% chain lightning damage, and then as it goes up tiers, the damage also goes up. And then at tier 3, after the bounce ends, it would bounce back to the initial target and deal extra damage based on the total number of bounces. So Hypercurrent, I'm going to put it C. Now, I haven't experimented with it too much yet, so this might be bad, because even at 300%, it might still not be enough. But I haven't fully invested myself into a chain lightning synergized run, and I really want to try to do it to like have extra bounces, extra, Lightning from Void, electric, or Thunderbolt, which one? Tesla Coil, Supercharge, and like Hypercurrent, stuff like that. I want to have a run where I have all those and try to make chain lightning do as much damage as possible and make it work the best that I can. But I don't know, since I haven't done that much, Hypercurrent's not one I'm taking because it's not super important if you're not doing a chain lightning run for the most part. So I'm putting it in C because it's kind of a dark horse to me. I don't really know too much about it. I feel like it definitely works really well with Lightning from Void. So if you get like Lightning from the Void and an auto crit scalpel, like I said, try to find this, because then you're every time, once a second, you're triggering a plus 300% Hypercurrent or chain lightning shot, which is kind of massive if you have this at tier 3. So having this, I feel like it's good in some scenarios, but if you're not going for a specific build, it's not that great. So I don't know. It's C. I don't know too much about it. I haven't used it very often, but I am going to just slap it in C and call it a day. Oh, no. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, hold on. So this one was the electric circuit one. They look similar. Whatever. This one is Bolt from Blue, which offers additional 50% skill damage, during which every shock effect triggered would summon the Thunderstrike to effect on the enemy. So anytime you do shock damage, it triggers the Thunderstrike, which is like the big damage buff from your E, to an affected enemies. And it gives you an additional 50% skill damage. This one's going to go A. S. Bolt from Blue is going to go S. Not only does it help if you have like Lightning Governor or just your Qs in general, since those are part of your skill damage, but every time you trigger Shock, you deal Thunder Strike to an enemy. So obviously it pairs really well with Lightning Governor, but it also pairs really well with the Tiger Cannon and Concealed Ammo and any weapon that explodes, but mostly those two, because for some reason, skill damage explosions are considered skill damage. So it gives you plus 50% additional explosion damage as well. So Tiger Cannons and Concealed Ammo can really, really benefit off of this. This character already makes those weapons pretty broken, but having Bolt from Blue makes them just a little bit more broken. And who doesn't want your run to be just a little bit more broken than it already is? So Bolt from Blue is going to get an S tier from me. And it doesn't have to be tier. There's only one tier of it, obviously, so you don't even have to try to worry about getting tiers 2 and tier 3. So that makes it really, really nice. Next up, we have Thunderbolt Converter. So this one is plus 10% weapon damage on your next hit every time Chain Lightning inflicts damage, up to 40% maximum. So for every enemy your Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning hits before you shoot your next shot, you do extra damage on the next shot. I'm going to put this one in C. It's okay. It's good. It's a way to get more damage if you're going for a high damage run. Most of the time your Chain Lightning is going to be hitting at least 3 enemies, so you're going to get probably at least 30% bonus damage. And as the tiers go up, you can get up to an extra 100% weapon damage and 40% lucky shot chance. So you can increase your DPS a good chunk with this, but it can't go any more than 100%. And you have to make sure you're using your Q, which I know I get to a point in most of my runs where I'm not even thinking about Chain Lightning unless there's a bunch of really small enemies and I have to reload. That's about the only time I'll Chain Lightning. But it's not bad. It helps your DPS out a little bit and is definitely better than some other scrolls that you could see depending on the type of run. If you're going for a really offensive run, it can help your DPS. So it's not bad, but it's not super good either. Next up, we have Tesla Coil. I'm going to put that in C as well. It gives you plus 2 bounce and plus 2 max capacity for Chain Lightning, and it keeps going up to a maximum of plus 4 bounce and plus 6 max capacity. And at tier 3, if it causes shock effect, players get 1 more usage immediately. So once again, this is another one where if I'm going for that Chain Lightning run, obviously this is a must-have for that. Outside of that, I've not found it to be a big deal when I'm going for high damage or explosive or any other type of run. So I feel like it's good for a very specific type of run, but overall, as an Ascension, definitely not something you're probably going to be taking super often, in most cases, at least. So that's why it's going to go there. It's okay, once again, but not game-breaking, but it's also not super bad either. Next up, we have Supercharge. Recharge 3 shield for each damage dealt by Chain Lightning. Oh, this one's tough. There's a lot of C's here. This one's gonna go C because it's good if you're doing a Chain Lightning build. This is a must-have again because you are so concerned about doing your Chain Lightning so often, so you're gonna be recharging shield a lot, which is really nice. But once again, I know personally I get to a point in my runs where I'm not even worried about the Chain Lightning. I'm barely using it, so it doesn't really affect me that often. And especially if I'm not trying to get it to tier 3, if I am recharging 3 shield for each damage dealt by Chain Lightning, and I'm not picking up, Hypercurrent to give me more Chain Lightning damage, like all that type of stuff is just, because of the way I play the character, it's a C. It could definitely be better, but it also, for me, is probably a low C, a little bit worse, maybe leaning towards D. But it's nothing super crazy, honestly. So that's why it gets that one. C could be a D for me, but for other people, definitely could be a higher tier. Next up, we have, this one's Magical Supply. Magical Supply gets Omega S tier. If there was another S tier, I'd probably put it up there. But Magical Supply is the whole reason why Tiger Cannon and Concealed Ammo are broken on this character, especially the Concealed Ammo. absolutely busted. You don't even have a good concealed ammo to do a ton of damage because of magical supply. So, I mean, if you don't know what it is, once Thunderstrike kills the enemy, the ammo consumed will be recovered and Fatal Current will be launched. However, minus 25% duration for this Fatal Current down to 2 seconds at minimum. So basically, you have 2 seconds to kill an enemy, and as long as you're killing an enemy, every shot you do is going to do extra damage. So with the concealed ammo and Tiger Cannon, every explosion you do is going to do extra damage, and as long as you're killing enemies, you can keep doing that extra damage, and you can just get clear rooms like it's a cakewalk, like just a walk in the park. Easy money, shoots your DPS through the roof. The magical supply is just, and if you're playing solo, it's also really good if you're doing snipers and stuff. If you're playing co-op, it's definitely worse. But solo, magical supply, take every time. Co-op, take it every time you're doing concealed ammo or Tiger Cannon run. It's so much fun. Super, just busted numbers that you can see easily if you take this and a concealed ammo. It's a two item combo. Concealed ammo, magical supply, boom, you're set. There's a lot of other things that can help, obviously, but those two are the big ones. So yeah, those are magical supply. I don't need to say too much about it. The best Ascension on this character, in my opinion, as somebody who plays single player mostly. Next up, we have Thunder Turbo, and this is a longer one. So you receive a layer of Thunder Turbo after killing the enemy with crit. You receive 2 layers after killing an enemy with Thunderstrike. Each layer of Thunder Turbo will deal plus 5% weapon damage and skill damage, and you can go up to 8 layers. Once the shield is broken, all of the layers are lost. This is going to go B. It can definitely help with DPS on every single shot, not just like a temporary DPS buff. If you get like Flesh and Bones, then all of your layers of Thunder Turbo just never go away because you can never lose your shield. And at tier 3, getting plus 15% weapon damage and skill damage and plus 5% crit damage up to 8 times is a lot of extra DPS to have on every single shot. So Thunder Turbo is really good for DPS increase, but that's about all it's good for. So that's why it's going B. It's probably leaning towards A. I could probably stick it in A if I wanted to, but I'm going to keep it at B. It's a really high B. It's good. But it's not like a game. I'm putting it in A. I'm looking at the other 2 in A, and I'm like, it's as good as those, at least, if not a little bit better, honestly. So I have to stick it in A, but it's going to go A. Thunder Turbo, really good for increasing your DPS, and it doesn't require you to be critting or anything like that. So, once again, works really well with the concealed ammo and Tiger Cannon. Next up, we have Storm Blast. And this is going to go into S just because of how I play this character. I'm always going for like high damage in a shot or high DPS in a run or high damage in a run. So Storm Blast, which literally just increases your Thunderstrike damage, is really good. It doesn't require crits or anything. And at tier 3, it actually makes every Thunderstrike shot crit, which is good because if you have that at tier 3 and you have a concealed ammo or a Tiger Cannon, all of your bullets are going to crit as long as you have your magical supply activated. So pairs really well with a lot of the ways you'd want to play this character, whether it's a sniper, whether it's a concealed ammo or Tiger Cannon, it doesn't matter. Storm Blast is something you're almost always going to be wanting to take unless you're focused on like your Chain Lightning or something. But Storm Blast, just an elite Ascension, definitely one of the best for sure. Next up, we have Shadow Knight, and Shadow Knight is going to get the first B of the day. It's good for increasing DPS, but you do have to micromanage a lot because enemies can't be within 10 meters. Unless you have it at tier 3, then they can't be within 5 meters. So you have to make sure things around you are clear. But if you have like long shot or something and you're already planning on trying to stay far away from enemies, it can definitely just increase the amount of damage you do every time. Increases weapon damage and skill damage, so once again, really good for explosions. But explosions also get kind of hard to manage the farther away you are. So if you can get it to tier 3, it's really good with everything. But if not, then it's definitely a lot better for snipers and snipers only. Next up, we have Voltage Surge. Voltage Surge is going to get a B as well, for almost the same reason where, so crit hit will make the enemy take plus 10% crit damage for 4 seconds. If the weapon's crit X is larger than 4, then plus 20%. So you obviously are inclined to use this on a sniper for obvious reasons. You want to get the most bang for your buck. However, even if you use it, whether it's, even if you get like deadly counter, or you get Stormblast tier 3 and your explosions are critting, this isn't super good with that build, so it's mainly just for snipers. It definitely helps a little bit, but because of the fact that it's mainly just for snipers and it's not going to get a ton of use for your, it will get a little bit of use, but not a ton of use for the explosive builds, it's going to go B tier, and it's going to stay in B tier. It's definitely a little better than Shadow Knight, I think, assuming you can get like deadly counter or something, but gonna stick it in B tier. I have the Storm. This one's tough for me. So plus 15% weapon damage for sniper on the next hit to the same target after dealing damage with the sniper. So if you hit a target with a sniper, the next shot you do to that target will do an extra 15% damage, and you can get up to an extra 60% damage at tier 1. So just more damage for snipers the more you hit a certain target. So it's like a boss killer, essentially. An elite killer, a boss killer, whatever. I'm going to put it in C because of the fact that, A, if I'm doing a sniper run in normal rooms, hopefully I'm killing most enemies in one shot anyway, so this doesn't even get triggered. For bosses, it's really good, but then it doesn't even work with explosive weapons at all. Anything that's not a sniper, it doesn't work with. So it's very one-dimensional, but it's pretty good at doing that one-dimensional job of, you know, being an elite or boss killer if you're running a sniper. So that's why it's going to stick it at C. It's good, but not just absolutely insane. And it's very one-dimensional, but very good at that one dimension. Next up, we have Fullmenus Zap, plus 200% damage of thunder summoned by the Fatal Current, and minus 80% movement speed of the enemy hit by thunder for 0.2 seconds. Fullmenus Zap, I'm going to put it in D because I'm just not a very big fan of it. Having an enemy move minus 80% is wild, but it's 0.2 seconds. You'll more than likely barely even notice it. And then an extra 200% damage of the thunder that gets summoned from the Fatal Current is good. It's extra damage, but it's not like anything crazy. And once again, I'm hoping that for most of the run, if I'm using my Fatal Current and then shooting the shot, I'm hoping the shot just kills them inherently. So I'm hoping the Thunder Strike gets the kill. So it's just not super useful in my opinion. It's one of those ones that you're really hoping that you don't have, yet you have another option that's going to be better for your current situation, because Fullmenus Zap usually is not it. But I will say the tier 3 is the only time it's useful, which is kind of another reason I'm going to put it in D, because if you want this to be good, you have to get it to tier 3. And that means you obviously risk taking like tier 1 and then tier 2 and then never finding tier 3 when you could have gotten better ascensions. But if you do get it to tier 3, you inflict additional 50% damage on enemies affected by shock effect, just by default. So constantly, if an enemy's in shock effect, you're doing an additional 50% damage, which is really good, but it's very situational. Like, you have to have tier 3 of this, so it's going to stay right smack there. So yeah. Next up, we have Thunder Nemesis. Summon the Thunder Strike on one random enemy every 2 seconds when casting Fatal Current. Summon the Thunder Strike, or no, sorry. When casting Fatal Current, summon the Thunder Strike on 3 random enemies within 20 meters. So as soon as you hit your E, boom, immediately 3 enemies get Thunder Strike. This is getting an A because if you have Magical Supply, every single time you trigger that Magical Supply, this also triggers. So you're doing a lot of extra damage to enemies. And if you get it to tier 3, then you summon the Thunder Strike on a random enemy every 2 seconds, whether you've casted your E or not. So it's really good. Another really fun way you could do kind of a passive run, along with like Lightning Governor and stuff, where you try to shoot as little as you can and do damage passively with this and Lightning Governor and all that. So Thunder Nemesis just equates to a lot of extra DPS. You're going to be killing enemies a lot quicker, and definitely deserves an A, in my opinion. It's a super solid Ascension to get. And then last but not least, we have Voltic Aegis, another one of the long ones. So you obtain a stack of it every 4 seconds, and gain 1 stack of it during your Fatal Current every 1 second. So by default, you get a stack every 4 seconds, and then while Fatal Current is active, you get a stack every 1 second. And each stack increases maximum shield by 5 and offers 10% damage reduction, and it stacks up to 3 times, and then you lose a stack every time you take damage. So at tier 1, the best you can have is 30% damage reduction and an extra 15 shield. At tier 3, the best you could have is 100% damage reduction and 100 extra shield, which that tier 3 is nothing to shake a stick at. 100 extra shield and 100% damage reduction is silly. And I'm going to put it in B because it's a really good defensive scroll. You do lose a stack every time you take damage, obviously. So, but it's really good for stopping like one-hit KOs or stuff like that. And it's a good way to get you just a little bit more defensive. And as a squishy character, having something that gives you a little bit more defense is definitely good. But it obviously doesn't help with like DPS, and there's no super good synergies with it. So it's going to stay in B. It's really good for defense, which is nice because you're squishy, but it doesn't have any sort of like synergies that help it shine and pop like these do. But it is a little bit better than probably most of these in most situations. So that being said, this is the Gunfire Reborn Ascensions tier list. Like I said in the cat video, I really don't think there's going to be any. I'll have to check the other 2 characters and find out. But having an Ascension that's just F, like you just never want to pick this up, would be kind of hard to do. But maybe one of the other 2 will surprise us, and we'll find out. But this is the Tigers tier list. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, let me know what other type of videos you guys want to see. I really appreciate the support recently. You guys have been amazing. I love each and every one of your faces. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.